is making the true not true. Maybe I shouldn't have even told you that. Maybe I should have just said, come up with 3 true things. 3 things that you believe are true, 3 things that are true about you. And I think you should do this multiple times, multiple ways. One round should be just 3 true things. And they could be more like facts, or they could be more like things that are true in the world. And then round 2 could be like beliefs, 3 things that you believe are true or something. And then the third one, because I think this one's really important too, things that are true about you, things that you believe are true about you, that you know to be true about you, that you think others think are true about you. And you can do those as separate rounds too, because it's nice to distinguish those and to see those laid out separately. But then, you know, all right, I've got all these true things now. I have this whole set of true stuff on my paper or whatever that I'm doing. And then take a look at those. Take a look at each one of those. And then make it not true. Do some magic. Poof, you know, do some work where you are able to flip that. So if you said, you know, whatever, it's sunny outside, and that's like a fact, then ways that that's not true, you know, actually it's maybe not sunny outside somewhere else, or, you know, maybe it isn't sunny outside, it's always sunny, and there happens to be less cloud cover right now so that I'm able to experience it. You know, something like that, where you're making it not true as well. You're flipping that truth, and it's not actually true what you've said. So, and then you get into it and you start looking at things like, I don't know, I am a very fearless person. Okay. All right, cool. Then let's make it not true. Like, I'm also not a very fearless person. I'm also, but I have these fears, and like naming them, you know, I was afraid just yesterday. I do these things that are based in fear, even though they seem brave. You know, I'm only acting brave in order to cover up that fear, or to manage or cope with my fear. Bravery is just my strategy for dealing with a fear. So, you know, you've then made it not true. And so you're just playing this game, this magical sort of, I'm the magician. I get to flip anything that's true to not true. And man, it's potent. You know, you are going to be like, oh my God, I can do this with anything. I mean, you might resist at first. You might be like, nope, that's just true. That's just true. The sky is blue. That's just true. You know, cool. But you could also be like, the sky is not even like an entity that can be blue. That's just like, you know, whatever, the gases or the reflections or whatever. I remember reading something about this at one point, but I'm not scientifically like on point about this right now. So you'll just have to take my example as an example. But anyway, yeah. And you can take anything. You might resist at first and feel like, nope, that's just true, and not be able to flip it and make it not true. But eventually, especially if you stick with it and like, no, this is the mission. The mission, how to win the game, is to make it not true. You must go the extra mile and get it to be not true. You'll see that almost anything can be flipped. And more than that, everything is simultaneously true and not true, almost in equal measure, if you really look at it, you know. And that's not meant to be said to like make everything in life a wash, you know, like, all right, fine, everything is everything, and everything is bland, and everything's both this and both that, so I can never have a stand on anything. That's not it. That's not the point of this, you know, because no, I mean, you are you, and you have your lens, and you're supposed to be your lens and have a feel like that really feels true for me, even though I can see how it's also not true in my heart, it feels really true. You're supposed to do that. That's sort of like the joy of being you. That's why you are you, and that you're here, because you are supposed to take a stand or have a certain way that feels more true. And you're supposed to have a flavor, you know, or at least it's life and truth is supposed to have a flavor, you know, that calls to you one way or the other. So, you know, it's not meant to put everything into a state of total chaotic, you know, everything is bland, everything wash, you know. No, that's not the point. It is meant to show you, though, how magically everything, how two things that are totally opposite exist at the same time, how things are true and not true exactly at the same time, how everything in this world is simultaneously both realities at the same time, both things at the same time. You know, I'm both loving and not loving at the exact same time, in the exact same measure, probably. I would like to believe that I'm more loving than not loving, but, you know, it just sort of shows you that wonder, because it is a wonder, and it doesn't have to be like a bland making mess. It's a wonder. It's a beautiful thing. It is magic, you know, just like I'm saying that you're kind of pretending to be this magician that just changes something true, not to true. Yeah, but it is magic. I mean, you should look at it, and it's a wonder. It's interesting. And it helps. It helps so much, so deeply. Even when I was saying just a few seconds ago, you can see how something that is true for you is not true for someone else. That's a really helpful skill, because you need to be able to see the other person's, not just perspective, but their truth, and how it can be true, and how it might even be a truth, you know, that, whatever, if somebody else's perspective is that I'm not very loving and mine is that I am, you can give them that. You can actually, I mean, it helps in your relationships and your ability to understand others, to be like, okay, like, it is totally allowed. You're allowed to have your truth. And if it is feeling like it rings more true for you that I'm not loving, like, I hate that, I wish, you know, we could do something about that, or repair that situation, or be more connected, whatever. But also, you can't do that with everybody. You know, you can pick and choose those situations where you'd really like to repair that, but there are just going to be some people that don't like me, or that, you know, don't perceive me as what I perceive me as. And that's okay. That's totally it. That's how we have to live. That's what actual compassion is like, letting other people have a completely different truth, because you're not just like, all right, fine, do whatever you want to do, and like sort of writing them off. It's not that kind of thing where you're accepting it just because you're basically tossing them out as, you know, unimportant. You're accepting it because you're like, and it is true, and anything can be made both true and untrue. And that's the nature of this world. That's the wonder of this world, is that both opposite things, both true and untrue, are partners. They're friends. They're both reality at the same time. And, you know, I hope that doesn't sound like too heady or too like philosophical, because really, I mean, an exercise like this is supposed to just make it real. Like, it's not that heady. It's actually just a part of life, and it's a beautiful part that kind of makes everything so awesome. Just like, and I have metaphors on Life as a Metaphor podcast that are about this, but just like with colors and photography and, you know, everything that we even look at visually that's like beautiful to us, it's because there's contrast. There's both light and dark. There's like shadow and, you know, there's foreground and background. That's what makes depth and wonder and interesting and beauty. And, you know, like, it's got to be that all of those things exist, so that they're existing simultaneously. And it's no different with life and, yeah, any of the truths that you know, whether they're facts or they're beliefs or they're things about yourself that you feel convicted and true about, you know, all of them, all of the things that I've asked you to come up with sentences of truths for, and then deconstruct them and disprove that they are now, you know, find a way that they are not true. Yeah, this is, I just feel like it shows wonder. It is something to stand and look at in awe and wonder, but also it develops awesome skills, flexibility skills. Life doesn't seem that scary if you can flex and see both sides of the coin. And you do not only have great compassion skills and interpersonal skills because you can really get somebody else's world and you're not just kind of stuck in your own, but also life doesn't look to be this like complicated problem where you're going to just like hit your head against a wall of impossibility. Nothing seems really impossible anymore because you have this ability to flex and to see how something can be true and totally not true. Like when you can see both sides and everything is sort of both equally, and you know that it doesn't scare you. You're not like mind blown about that. You're not in resistance about that. You've actually played with that in little exercises like this, and you've seen proof that that is probably the case. And you've, exercised being able to flex like that and see both sides of everything. Then, man, possibilities open up. I mean, nothing looks impossible anymore because you can always find the flip of whatever situation. If you seem like you're in a situation that's like never gonna be any different, like that it is different right now, or it's always changing. I mean, that's also another thing that I do a lot of podcasts about, where like change is always happening, and change is the stability. Change is stability. You see how those two opposites, like true and not true, like, no, everything is really stable right now. No, that's not true. Everything is really changing right now. The stability is the change. They're just partners. They're pretty much both. And just like you will discover in this, everything that you can say that you think is true, like it's both. I am loving and not loving, or I am fearless and totally fearful. I'm both, and everything is both. And again, this isn't meant to make everything muddled and uninteresting and chaotic. It's actually meant to open up possibilities and give you incredible new skills to flex and to be compassionate and to see. It's kind of like zooming out and seeing an even bigger perspective, an even bigger eye view. If you can see something as true as also totally not true. And you can do that with your will by taking something that's true and then flipping it. And you can creatively come up with how it's not true. And that gets your brain working in that bigger picture way where you can see both sides and you can flip something. And so when you're faced with an obstacle or a problem or an impossibility, you've got that mind power to be able to flip it and flip it the other direction and see the other side of it and creatively come up with how that's also not true. Creatively come up with the inverse of impossible, that it is totally possible. And you're not limited, you're unlimited, and you can flip it. So anyway, that's why I obviously am super passionate about this subject. I have tons of podcasts about this. This was a huge revelation for me in my life. Like like a huge expansion and growth point. Like I just blew up. My perspective changed. I zoomed out more. Like it just freed me up miraculously. So obviously when something like that happens, I want other people to try it and I can talk on it forever and be all excited and passionate about it. And this is just one little fun way to do it. This is just one little game, one little exercise that puts you in a real place of doing the exercise, building the skill, and seeing it for yourself and like having it sink in as not just a philosophical concept, but like a reality, like, oh yeah, I am both, fearless and totally afraid, or, whatever. The sky is blue and is totally not really blue, or it's sunny outside and also it's not really. I mean, it's just like there's no cloud cover, or, whatever, hopefully I've given enough examples for you to be able to play this game, but go for it. See how you like it.